2, 1, you're on the air.
Please speak loud enough, or you can take off the mask if you need to, but just keep socially distanced. First on the agenda is Old Forge Estates.
Mr. Chairman, this is on for consideration of the acceptance of the seeker negative declaration resolution for this. This project, as I think you are aware, has evolved over time, and now we're looking at the cluster subdivision. The reason we're doing the neg deck prior to preliminary approval is they need to go to DEP for approvals, and the neg deck needs to be in place before they can get action from the DEP.
Okay. And I see that Mike had no comments and Rich had no comments. So there's a resolution in front of us tonight.
That's correct.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to offer the resolution of the planning board of the town of Carmel, number 20-03, July 28, 2020, tax map number 75.15-1-19-40, Old Forge Estates, secret determination of significance, negative declaration.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anthony, you need to speak better into the microphone.
It is
please.
off.
Yeah, actually, everybody, you need to speak directly into the microphone when we're talking, and that goes for everybody up there, whoever speaks.
Next on the agenda tonight is the Cornwall Fire Department, 94 Glenita Avenue, lot line adjustment. Mike, I see had no comments. Rich?
So, for lot line adjustment, all my comments have been addressed, so. And for the amended site plan, all engineering comments have been addressed, so.
And Pat?
So these go hand in hand, Mr. Chairman, so there are no further planning issues with respect to the subdivision lot line adjustment. And again, the site plan approval piece to this, which is the next agenda item, the applicant has addressed all of the site planning issues as well. There have been modifications that have been made to the plan, and you expressed some concern about how the site would physically operate. The applicant has provided explanations of those things. The addition to the facility is not resulting in using the facility for a lot of training activities. Most of that occurs at the county facility, so it's not for that purpose. And the one issue you spent a good deal of time on was the traffic flow behind the building. There has now been signage added to address the traffic movements behind the building.
So if we stay with the second item on the agenda, Pat, we would need a motion to deny the lot line adjustment to the ZBA.
Correct.
Do we have such?
Do we have anything we want to hear from the applicant?
For the lot line
I
adjustment,
don't
I
think
think
I think a lot line
No,
adjustment, on the second part of it, I think.
Okay.
Do we have a motion for the lot line adjustment? Mike, Rich, and Pat had no comments on it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for a lot line adjustment.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that will be sent to the ZBA. Okay, Cornwall Fire Department, 94 Glenita Avenue, amended site plan. Mike's comments dealt with the two-way traffic, which we discussed at the last meeting. Rich, you want to cover your comments, please?
I have all engineerings have been addressed. The only, there were some permits and general comments and some referrals. The applicant's engineer has acknowledged that they're needed and will follow through on them. So all other engineering comments have been addressed.
And Pat, I believe you had no comments.
that's right. I just referred to my comments, but there are some modifications to the plan. I think there's the elimination of one parking space, so perhaps if the applicant's engineer would describe that.
Would you mind taking us through what's changed since the last time you were in front of the board, please?
Absolutely. My name is Kathleen Gallagher with Insight Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture, PC. We are joined here tonight by the architect as well as the owner if there's any other additional questions or information. The big changes to the plan, based on the comments that were received from the last meeting, includes the traffic circulation. The plans are now showing a one-way exit from TD Bank. There is a two-way entrance and exit from Vink Drive in order to accommodate refuse and emergency ambulance, fire department, fire apparatus to the site. So there's only two-way access from Vink Drive. Coming from TD Bank, as previously mentioned, is one way. So there is passenger vehicular exit to the site, but only entrance from fire department and refuse. That has been outlined on the plan in two vehicular traffic studies, which show passenger cars, refuse vehicles, as well as fire department apparatuses to show how the vehicles will exit and will enter to the site. Other changes, a lighting plan was added to the drawings in order to show the light levels. It is proposed new additional lights over the garage bays, as well as additional replacement lighting for all of the current lighting that's on site. The current lighting is metal halides. They will all be upgraded to LED lighting that will better be suitable and will light for safety for both vehicular vehicles that are coming throughout the project. We've also added some additional fuel information for the fuel tank that's located on the south side of the project. There's a detail that is located on the last sheet that shows the sizing of the fuel tank. We've also added some additional information as to the location, the bollards, as well as it has been incorporated into the architectural elevations as to its location along the site. Additional architectural elevations were included as part of this submission, as well to showcase the additional building located on the east side of the property. Grading has been expanded to order to show cut-fill calculations. We do have a fill of 1,480 cubic yards. Additional information has been provided as to the screening on the property. On the perimeter side, the existing vegetation that is to remain, some additional screening that will be added to the cell tower. The existing screening that is there will be removed. The generator, there's some additional sound attenuation that's been included in the project as well. And again, I am here as well as the architect and the owner for any other additional information about the technical comments.
Before we get on to the architectural review, is there any comments on the traffic flow? Or anything else that was just presented?
We did include signage, some additional signage. There's a flashing yield sign that's located in the rear as well to notify passenger vehicles that are exiting the property.
I think most of our comments were addressed from the last time we spoke. As you know, we were concerned with there's a lot happening there in that fairly small space. I'd like to know more, the board would like to know more about the architectural renderings on the
Absolutely.
building, what kind of materials will be used, what they look like, what the colors will be, because we do play that role also.
Yes, and we are happy to start that initial conversation here tonight.
Mike did have a question on this memo. Is it a two-way traffic between the back and the
Yes. Go ahead. So there was one comment that we had from Mike Canazza was, is it two-way traffic between the bank and the rear parking area? You said there is, but there was one area that we were concerned with, right? Where the trucks might be maneuvering in. Wasn't that a discussion at the last meeting?
Right, in
Yes.
front of the
He
garage
was concerned there
doors.
was two-way going in and out of the bank. She said it's just an exit out of the bank, two-way to
Two-way.
access just the back of the firehouse for refuse and fire trucks.
Okay.
And Kathleen, what percentage of vehicles might travel that back driveway?
I've been on site, if you know, our office is actually located down the
Right.
hill. So we've actually been going to the site periodically just to kind of observe traffic patterns and things of that nature. Most people, there's a one-way entrance and a one-way exit, and it's to facilitate through the drive-through. So that location to exit is not actually very often used. Most people are going through the drive-through, and if they're not, they come directly in, park in that front parking lot, and then leave that way. So it seems to only be utilized when someone kind of gets stuck in traffic and can't find
Yeah,
a
yeah.
correct way out.
Makes sense, I've been out there. It doesn't really flow to go out that back way.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Eric Nyler with H2M Architects and Engineers. We're responsible for the building design. So we are at the beginning of our process with the fire department in terms of discussion. We've selected a material palette, but I have not finalized the color palette with them. So generally, though, the idea is that the entire new apparatus bay will be brick veneer or possibly ACMU. We're also in the middle of working out some budget.
Can you speak more to the microphone, please?
Oh, sure, sorry.
Thank you.
So we're in the middle of some discussions with the fire department about budget. So we're showing a masonry, it's going to be a masonry building, but whether it's brick, as in, you know, sort of modular brick, or an ACMU material, which would be like an 8x16 module, but with the appearance of brick, in other words, would have color and texture, that's still to be determined. But you can, as you can see from the elevations, we're going to be wrapping the building with a sort of water course, which would be either precast or potentially another color of ACMU, probably a split face at the base, and using a hardy board siding up in the gable ends on the as you see on the elevations, the east end, which is the big elevation, least visible of any of them. And the main elevation would be facing Vink with, again, face brick or ACMU, Raynor type doors. We're looking at the 3 rows of glass. It's kind of a good blend of, you get some visibility of the apparatus, but you don't expose it to too much sunlight. New entry form, in addition to the apparatus bay, this project includes a new elevator and stair tower to make the building fully accessible. And so that we're going to take the opportunity to turn that into a focal point, although the main entry of the building will remain on the side facing Route 52, but there will be an entrance on Vink, but that will be pretty much for members only or fire department operations. Small canopy over that door next to the radio room that you see next to the overhead doors there. We're going to strip excuse me, we're going to strip the siding from the existing building and replace that with a face brick. And that's either going to be a thin brick or potentially just actual face brick. We're still looking at the relative costs of those two approaches. But the end result will be the building will be wrapped in masonry. The only place where we'd be leaving the existing brick are on the relatively untouched north side of the building where the masonry ends, in fact, which is 20 feet in from the end of the building, let's say. So basically it's going to be looking like a new building when we're done, almost entirely. We're going to infill the existing apparatus bays to create new office space inside, and those two of those doors will be removed and replaced with a panel infill or potentially brick. That's we're sort of weighing some of those options. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a building appropriate for its kind of urban setting, and I think the brick palette or the masonry appearance will give the right texture for an important civic building and blend in with the village environment.
I have one question. Will the brick facing on the existing part, the existing building, be different than the?
It would be the same color. We would
So it'd be
use.
unified?
Exactly,
okay.
yes. And right, as you see also, fairly important visual element, we're looking at a shingle roof over the apparatus bay, but that may change. We're actually considering going with a low slope membrane roof where you would just see a parapet. It would actually bring the scale of the building down a little bit. So we're weighing those options. I still have to walk the fire department through the pros and cons of those two approaches. And the next time that you would see us, we would be bringing rendered elevations. So you'd see the color scheme. I would have had a chance to finish our dialogue, and we'd bring you sample boards of everything that we're proposing, as well as colored images.
I think since it's such a key location for us, the renderings would be very
Oh,
helpful, because we play that role, but it's right there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We
Yeah.
would always do that. I just, we're just not quite there yet with our process, but we understand the importance of it for your ability to judge the project.
Any other,
One-
Mark, Anthony, any other questions? Bob?
I have one other question. Lighting. Is the new lighting going to be substantially greater than what's there now?
Well, we would look to keep the site lighting levels down to what's reasonable for a parking lot. Kathleen and I should probably huddle, but I would look at maybe half a foot candle, 1 foot candle. No light spill over the property edge, certainly. We do need more lights at the bay doors, the response bays, but those lights will not trespass over the property edge in any way. So we'd be looking to light up I guess in answer to your question, there will be a little bit more light because of the lights at the bay door entry response side. But again, there would be no light spill over the edge of and we full cutoff fixtures for everything.
Thank you.
You had mentioned that you might change the elevation over the bay doors to a parapet from the gables, is that what you said?
Well, we're considering it. I sort of bring that up hesitantly, just sort of full disclosure, because I don't like to make speculative remarks. I mean, what you're looking at is where we started. That's what the fire department has seen to date. I just wanted to state that we are working through the budget of the project, and it's something we're at least toying with. So my preference would be to keep it like it is. We know it works and it's good.
When you come back, would you bring both elevations if you're considering one or the other?
If we were still considering them, I would absolutely bring both. But otherwise, what you would see next time is what the clients agreed to and what we're planning to do.
Now, obviously, a gable, that looks nicer than a parapet, but if the budget calls, it's
Absolutely.
over their budget,
Yeah, I
I
think
understand.
there's pros and cons. I mean, the building.
Then you go to a flat roof, and
It's a
those
little
flat
more-
roofs are
it's a little
expensive,
more,
too.
It's a little more traditional looking, which is a good thing. Even though it's not the main elevation of the building, but it's still, you can see it from Route 52. So again, our preference would be to do what we're showing, but I just want to at least let you know that we're looking at some other things
Sure.
to deal with the budget.
I think they're off to a good start.
Yeah.
I personally like the roof line the way you're showing it.
Great, thank you. I mean, it's a,
So-
we're trying to, it's a challenge with these things at the scale. You got 14-foot high doors, so you look for ways to break it down a little bit. We're going to explore some banding over the doors. There's a level of detail that you can't see on this, the lintels over the doors, things like that that'll further give it that scale that it needs.
I'm not sure how long it'll take you to get your renderings, but we probably could do a couple things in parallel here. We probably could schedule a public hearing at the same time we ask you to bring in the renderings, speed things up a little bit, if you can make that kind of a schedule.
Absolutely. Whatever the schedule, or the next delivery, I would assume it's
I
maybe
think
a
the
couple
next
of weeks out.
meeting is August 19th?
19th.
August 19th.
So
And
we
there'll
would
only
be
be one in August, I believe.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I think it behooves you if we can do them both together.
Oh, yeah. The submittal for that would be what, 2 weeks before, or?
I think we asked for 2 weeks before, but you can talk to Rose upstairs.
Yeah, so it'd be the first week, it would be actually be submitting next week.
That's correct, next week.
Right, okay.
It's really next week.
Yeah, it's what, Saturday's August 1st already, right?
Saturday's
So work with Rose on a schedule,
Yeah. Would it be possible to submit elevations as part of the submittal and bring a rendering?
talk to Rose.
Yeah.
Work it out with her, and
Yeah. I mean, it's
We'll be
always
as-
better
we'll
to
be
have
as
it all
flexible as we
together, but- Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to schedule the public hearing?
Yes, I did mention it, but yes. We'll be scheduling a public meeting on this. As Pat, I mentioned in parallel, we wanted to schedule a public hearing as well as do the next review at the August 19th meeting.
We need-
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. See you at the 19th. You can go sit in the back or sit outside. Tell, hey, Mark, tell Joe on the way out. He's gonna abstain. Okay. And like Joe says, we're not voting. Next on the agenda tonight is 910 South Lake LLC, amended site plan.
Good evening, Chairman.
Could I just ask you to speak loud into the
Yep, I
microphone
will
for...
do my best, and please tell me if I'm not projecting enough. For the record, my name's Neil Alexander. I'm a partner at the law firm of Cuddy and Fader, here on behalf of the applicant. Obviously, you see Willie's here. Lou Cardillo, who's the principal and the applicant, is behind me. He's shifted size on me there, from left to right. So we're excited to start the dialogue about this project. And we really, truly mean that about it being a dialogue. We have some distinct thoughts in our head as to what we'd like to pursue on this property, and from thinking it through and from laying it out and making the investment and redeveloping the property. Obviously, we're open to significant collaboration and conversation on that. Our original thought, and it's evolved a little bit actually since the drawings Willie has submitted already. One of the things we are now looking at in our thought process was probably to put a fourth story on, looking for a multifamily project, 20 units, 5 on each floor. The circulation pattern, which Willie will show you a little bit in a minute, is essentially around the building. So we would raise the existing structures that are there, and make the investment to go all new and clean. So you would come in one way, go to the back of the property around the building, and then you could come out on the other side of the building from north to south.
Yeah.
Did you have a question first, or?
No, I was just
You
actually
sure?
waiting to, logistically, we usually ask the consultants first. I just was...
Oh, I'm so
I was
sorry.
just wanting to give you a
I
little
apologize.
courtesy of introducing the project, which is
Yeah,
fine.
we're just trying to
This is-
get going. If you want Pat
No,
to
no,
jump in, or
this is
Rich
fine.
ahead of me, I'm so
We have-
sorry.
No, let us go through our process here. The introduction was helpful, though,
Okay.
so it's all
We'll
good.
stop here.
Yeah, thank you. Mike's comments, Rich, do you want to read them, or Pat?
I got, you want me to get them?
I don't have them.
All right, so, Neil, we can and will use this against you, so don't ever step on our toes again.
Hey, and Rich, you can summarize yours, because this is a little bit of a working session tonight, so
right.
you don't feel that you need to
I
read
can read
the-
Mike's if you like,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Anthony's going to read Mike's.
You got it?
I got him.
All right.
Okay. Okay, I'll read Mr. Kanaza's comments regarding 910 South Lake LLC. The proposal is to remove a garage and boarding house and rebuild a 3-story mixed-use frame building. The use variance is required from the ZBA for the mixed-use building. Only existing mixed-use buildings are allowed. The zoning table is incorrect. The map provides 16.1 feet front yard. The table provides 18.3 feet. The table provides 12 feet the side yard. The plat provides 13 feet. Frontage is incorrect. I need to meet with the architect and engineer. Several area variances are required. Need to clarify numbers before referral to the ZBA. Where is the trash enclosure? Label and provide details. Provide detail of the accessible route for somebody to access the commercial use via the accessible parking spaces. There does not appear to be a safe route to the front of the building. In addition, the access route cannot include stairs. The only access to the commercial appears to be using stairs. Then it goes on, how much fill will be removed or added? Provide a detail of the lowest floor/commercial space. Provide a parking calculation. How did you come up with 30 spaces required? The architectural consultant needs to be part of this process. It is a redevelopment that is going to set the bar for the area of the village, that area of the village, excuse me. The project needs to be referred to the ECB once it is nearly complete. The map needs more work. I'd like to meet with the designer to discuss.
Thanks,
End
Anthony.
of comments. Rich?
So the application encompasses a proposal to replace 2 existing buildings with a mixed-use retail and multifamily with a new multifamily single building. Based on review of the submittal, we have preliminary comments. Referrals to the Mahopac Fire Department, New York City DEP, and New York State DOT would be required. Permits would be required from DOT depending on improvements to the ingress and egress and connection into the catch basins for stormwater runoff. New York City DEP for wastewater flows, especially now that you're adding more units, and it is a designated downtown area, so you're going to need to get a SWIP for the DEP on that. Depending on the intended change of use, a traffic study should be considered. The area of disturbance for the work is provided as 0.4 acres. You will need a permit under New York State DEC under GP 020001. Like I mentioned, it's in a designated Main Street area. You will need DEP approval. All grading to require the accomplished work needs to be, should be provided. Stabilized construction entrance should be provided. A vehicle movements plan should be provided, which provide representation of all types of vehicles that would go in and out of the site. All turning radii should be graphically provided, including into the exiting the site. Available site distances should be provided. All calculations should be given. Slopes at the entranceway need to be further defined. There should be slopes less than 6% for the first 20 feet of entry, and slopes no greater than 8% be used entering the site. We need to understand if there's any work being performed in the New York State DOT right-of-way. You will need permits for that. Landscaping plan for the rear and sides of the building should be provided. A lighting spill plan should be provided. Curbs and asphalt should meet town code. A legend for the drawing should be provided. The applicant will need to provide a separate water and wastewater use report. The applicant does not address stormwater from the site. All existing drainage should be provided. Details required for the garbage enclosure. All lighting and exterior lights along with spill plan should be there. There's a whole bunch of stuff with regards to connecting water that are more very detailed and should be on there. And to follow up on Mike's, the map needs more work. There should be an existing condition that's shown, proposed condition that's shown, and then the differences within it.
Rich, thank you. Pat?
So Rich and Mike touched on most of the issues. The primary issue with respect to this is this is a prohibited use. They do need the use variance for this. You'll be required to deny this, send it to the Zoning Board of Appeals for that use variance. If there's any commentary you wish to send to them with respect to the comprehensive plan, for example, that would be done in that referral to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The documents are lacking in a lot of areas, as you heard, because the plan is evolving. So the plan that we reviewed is different from what Mr. Alexander described to you this evening. So it's something that's evolving, and I think they're simply trying to get a sense from the board with respect to your sense of the project. But what we would want to know is certain things like the tenancy of the units. So are these condominiums, are they rental apartments? Understanding that's a relevant issue. The number of bedrooms in each unit is relevant. That relates to the kinds of families that might or might not live there, school children and so forth. There would be, as Mike indicated, a number of area variances required for this. The interesting situation is that, again, this use is prohibited. However, the multifamily residential use previously existed in the town zoning prior to the upzoning. And unfortunately, that section, as you know, remains in the zoning code. So the dimensional regulations and so forth for multifamily residential buildings is still in the code, even though the use is prohibited. And those regulations give some guidance to how we regulated these in the past. For example, they required 10-foot buffers around the parking areas. In this particular instance, the parking in the south side on Route 6 is right on the property line. On the west side, it's about 2 feet off the property line. So whether or not there's a zoning regulation with respect to that, there used to be, but screening around parking areas is something you always try to achieve. There's another variance that's required for off-street loading. That's a requirement for multifamily buildings. That's not provided. The access, as Rich touched on, is a significant issue. State highways on both sides. There's currently one driveway in. They're proposing a one-way in, one-way out. That needs to be looked at. Would it be more appropriate, safer, more efficient to have a single driveway as opposed to the one-way in, one-way out? A lot's going on South Lake Boulevard across the street at the marina and so forth. So getting a handle on that's important. There's a rear driveway access that comes into the site now. It's not shown as being used for access, but it's not clear if that's being abandoned. See, Rich raised the point, if you've been past the site, the elevation rises pretty steeply from South Lake Boulevard. So having an understanding of the grading plan is important, stormwater plan, utility plan. None of that information has been submitted yet, so we need to get a handle on that. Typically, for a residential use, there would be on-site usable open space. That's a requirement in other zones. None is provided in this case. Is that something the board would want to see as an asset to a residential building on a site like this? And I think the final point that everyone's touched on is this is a critical parcel in the hamlet, so having our architectural consultant involved, I think, is imperative.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pat.
The board may want to know there are 2 different tax parcels associated with this project, if they're not aware of it, so.
Okay. Thank you. Good comments, lots of comments. I think you can continue with the overview a little bit. There's lots of things that come to mind. Is this going to be multi-use? What do you
So
plan?
that's,
Is this going to be residential?
I think I think everyone picked up on exactly what it is that we're trying to do. Is to start the conversation, to make sure there's traction on the issue, and then obviously, all great points: sewer, water, stormwater, landscaping, lighting, classically, things we have to get and vet and provide more of. No question about it. I think what we're trying to figure out is, we would like to see it be 4-story, is our thought. We are struggling candidly at trying to figure out exactly how to make it mixed use, given the existing retail in the area, given the occupancy rate of the existing retail in the area, I'm going to frame it that way. Recognizing that we're trying to put a product together that brings up the area is our intention. And not that there's anything wrong with it, but we're trying to level it up a little higher if we can. That's the goal. Also kind of aligns with taking down the existing asset, which is of a certain quality, and we would want to replace it with something much better, which has a cost associated with that. So hitting a return on investment that's reasonable here. Sorry about playing with my mask, I apologize. So we're trying to factor all that in. When the application was originally put in, we really, so I'm trying to feel you all out. We'd really like to stay pure multifamily. That would really be our preference. We're not against, so we're trying to make tonight a yes and conversation, not a no but conversation, candidly. So the yes and is, yes, we'd like to be completely multifamily because we're struggling with what use you could put in that wouldn't compete with existing uses where there's already a problem. Also, that would be consistent with sort of a higher caliber product. So one of the things we were toying with is, the idea of if we had on the first floor some kind of a gym use, not necessarily to take a branded product like a CrossFit or an Orange Theory that has volume to it, but rather a small gym that took over, essentially the size of one apartment or maybe 2 apartments on the first floor, And that would be an amenity not only to the people who live above, but also could be for personal training use. So a personal trainer could rent the space. It would be available during those non-hours to the residents of the building. And then the trainer would have a business spot, and that way, maybe that would be compatible. We're open to it. You know, obviously, the trick on those issues is what happens if that trainer leaves and now you have that space? Does it become dark? And we haven't activated the first floor to the hamlet as the goal was set. So we're very open. We understand the need to activate it to a certain extent, but how do you activate it in a way that's not another 18-week of the year type of seasonal use, but rather something that's year-round? Our thinking is the more customers we can put in the form of residents and tenants in that area, the better for the surrounding businesses. So, like I said, we're open to a dialogue, and since it's a use variance, crafting this together will eventually wind up being backed into some dollars and cents proof, obviously, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay. So I walked up there this morning. There seems to be other businesses up there, also reupholstery place. There's a
Yep.
cab company being run out of the back. What happens to those?
If I'm correct, they are supposed to all leave.
This was all leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Questions from Anthony?
Just one item, Mike's comment talks still about mixed use. What we're proposing, we are getting away from the existing mixed use completely, tearing it down, getting rid of it, and making a single use, which is the multifamily.
Did you say you're going to tear down the building?
Yes, both
Okay.
buildings are going down. That garage is to be removed. It's not going to say that will become part of the
So
parking
that-
lot.
That building gets leveled along with the reupholstery shed or what?
Correct, yes. All it's going to go is going to be only a single building on that property.
We're looking to scrape the whole site.
And, all the technical aspects of it, of landscaping, lighting, drainage, traffic studies, et cetera, we'll take care of that. It's just like right now is the proposed use, what's the feel of the board about it?
So the additional units also that we're talking about helps us, get into providing that higher quality architecture that you're going to look for. And obviously, space is at a premium there, so when I say landscaping and lighting, yes is the intention to do really, certainly in the front to create the streetscape. That's the intention. In the back, I think, and on the sides, it gets a little tighter because of the vehicular circulation pattern that was very preliminarily showed to DOT. And, I don't want to say that, what I would say is that they were favorable, but it's so early, right? Okay, so I fully acknowledge that, but we were not told, no, that one-way idea is a bad idea. They actually our initial, from listening to Lou, is that the initial dialogue was favorable to that one-way routing. And I think maybe in part, I'm not a PTOE here, but I'm thinking in part because of the grade change that made sense, rather than having up and down, where the vision is a little different on one driveway than two. But I'll leave it to the experts when it comes to that issue. You want to explain the nature of the meeting a little bit more?
The DOT access, by the way, we met with Cassandra Bibble on the site a while back, and she suggested that it will be a better idea to go in one way and come out one way. They felt that will be a safer access onto Route 6N.
By the way,
Okay.
you should hang up the sign. The sign's laying down. No one from the road can see that this applicant's in front of the planning board. Please make sure that sign.
Okay, we'll secure it to the site where it doesn't.
I think everyone on the board would like to see a new, nice-looking area. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. As you know, we're currently underway with the downtown revitalization, a master plan. You do have, 4 or 5 pages of typewritten comments here that you really do need to be working with the consultants on and getting it down to something that we could work with. I'm not sure, Bob, if you and Anthony have any comments.
In terms of occupancy, have you thought through, you said 20 units, how many bedrooms in each?
One and two,
What the
right?
square footage will be?
Well, we can provide you with a breakdown of the units. We have a floor plan showing
Yeah, I mean, it's like Bob says, if there's going to be 20 units, so they 21 bedroom units, or they 20 mixed, you know?
we have,
There's 15 there now, I believe, right?
Yeah, the fourth floor would mirror that. So there'd be 4 1s and 16 2s.
Well, you gotta go to the microphone. I have it here.
well, it works.
The fourth floor would mirror that, so it'll be 16 twos and 4 one-bedrooms.
Okay.
Do we have any four-story buildings?
I don't know. That's something Mike would be able to answer. Does anybody know if we have any? I don't.
Yeah, I think that's it.
County office building.
Yeah.
This right now is based on 3 stories, correct?
There's 3 stories there now.
Yeah, the 3 stories were proposed, and when we start looking at the numbers and the cost of developing the site versus investment, the return versus investment, it is going to make a lot more sense to go for the additional story to make it viable for the investor to do what he has to do with it. As is the building, really, we all know, we don't want to get into detail of what the building is all about and what's going on in that site. In order for somebody to really upgrade it and bring it to a very high end, this is not going to be an affordable apartment. It's going to be like really, because it has the views of the lake, it has whatever it has, so they're going to be balconies and high-end rental. So the quality of the tenant's going to be a high-end quality coming in. It's going to be well landscaped, and we will provide a very extensive landscaping plan. We'll protect, everything will be like, this is just for the conversation purposes right now, just to come here. Eventually, we will show the board in a much larger scale of each individual, what we're doing with lighting, plantings, curbing, drainage, et cetera, et cetera. We will be coming in with that.
Yeah, that'd be good, because keep in mind, we also serve as the architectural review board. So-
Correct, we
so
will work
would
with
have
them.
to Probably use our consultant, Anthony, and others. We'd probably have to use our consultant to
We will,
look at this.
we'll have absolutely no problem doing that.
And Mr. Chairman, just to remind you, you certainly can react to the applicant's proposals, but you shouldn't be designing the project with the applicant. It's their
Totally.
obligation to do that, so
And there's, you know,
reacting
there's
is fine.
4 other pages of comments here we need to work through. I agree with that.
Ryan, just so the applicant knows, so the architect, if you're going to be referred to the architect, if the board does that, you apply for a permit, you get the first review under that permit, and then after that, you're going to have to post escrow so that they can work off of that. So, and they come up with that escrow for us. So just so you know, if that, it goes to that piece, if the board recommends it, then that's what has to happen. Just so you deal with Rose on that.
With this being a prohibited use, we really got to talk about how this fits in with the downtown revitalization of the master plan.
That's right. Again, this is the second time we've been dealing with this in a couple of weeks, this issue, and the whole question is it premature, given the comprehensive plan? Should that come first? It's a cart before the horse question. I certainly don't believe the town board elected not to impose a moratorium, so applicants certainly have a right to advance applications, but we shouldn't be processing something that's contrary to the vision that's evolving with the comprehensive plan, obviously.
So to be a little jocular on that point, if I may for a minute, so I took a look at the April 29th presentation by the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and one of the things I noted, the number 2 issue on the vision for the next 10 years was a vibrant town with a diverse choice of housing. So I would argue that we're fitting in right now with what they've enunciated, and that we're not against anything that's been enunciated, right? I mean, I'm towing in carefully here, but
And that's why I think we all like the idea of a downtown revitalization. We know that building's been there for a long time, and there's plenty of improvements that can be made. We just need to make sure all our ducks are lined up. Anthony, go ahead, please.
Right, this is a one-shot deal we have,
Yep.
collectively. And it's something that is heading in the vision of what the town is looking to go towards. Personally, I have a concern, I like the idea. We're off to a start, it's going to be a long process, there's a lot of comments. This application has a lot of comments compared to others that have come.
Oh, it has a lot of work to go. We completely acknowledge. I think really what we were looking to do was to make sure there was traction to the idea of bringing residential as a multifamily as a use to the hamlet. We thought it was a great idea because it brings customers. We wanted to make sure that it was okay, that it would be, essentially 100% multifamily, project, and that there was comfort, at least preliminarily, with that. We were only, we're early here. At the most, we were hoping that maybe you would, circulate notice of intent, to be lead agency, since we know what permits roughly would be needed, but it's a use variance, and so we have a fair amount of work. But, in fairness to Lou, by the same token, he was trying to advance the idea enough to have an intelligible conversation with you and for your consultants to provide you with input. But at the same point, if it was going to die right away, because it's a use variance, which is not an easy thing to get, he also didn't want to spend an outrageous amount of money on advancing plans that, would be used for one meeting. So it was a balance, and sorry that staff had to expend an incredible amount of time to review, and we know we have a lot of work to do with staff, and look forward to that if what you're saying is we're not dead on arrival,
No, I don't feel you're dead on arrival at all.
Okay.
This will eventually have to go to the zoning board. There's a lot of issues there. I'm not ready to personally send it to the zoning board. There's a lot of.
No, not yet.
No, that's fine with us. Like I said, we were just
Have you
hoping
back
for
again.
like circulation tonight at tops,
Yeah. I think you work with the consultants, schedule time with them, and get this 4 or 5 pages of typewritten notes down to something we could work with, and then we'll go from there. And in the meantime, the downtown revitalization continues to develop, the master plan continues to develop, and see where that leads us.
Are there elevators proposed?
Yes.
In there?
I also think that with Mike's review and his comments were based on a 3-story building, as he mentioned.
Yeah.
When he finds out that the intent, and I understand the intent to go 4-story, he may have other comments, or he may have.
It would, Anthony, result in additional variances, there's no question.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I was getting to. Again, that's
Well-
something, but I think you picked up traction.
Thank you.
I don't know if the Mayapack Fire Department has the equipment to take care of a 4-story building. I don't know that.
Okay.
I mean, they very well might.
And
So-
Richard's 4-story on top of a hill.
On top of a hill.
So,
Right, so, and then they're gonna have to go up this one-way
concern.
path that you're putting up and come down a one-way path with cars parked there, so that's like,
No, that's a great
safety
point.
issue
May
here.
just jump out.
That's huge, right?
If you're
That's
looking
a
to do
huge one.
mostly residential, and you're gonna try to forego the commercial, then you're gonna, 3 stories might be what you end up with. That 4th story would have been vacant stores below, based on what's going on with.
I think you're
Commercial
probably
real estate.
right. I think you're probably right. It's a
So
great
pushing it to
point.
4 stories without having commercial, if you could get past that part of it, then I don't know if you want to push the envelope for 4 stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it is also, I'm dealing with another project where what we wound up doing was now I'm delving in your world, but I apologize, but what we wound up doing was we figured out that the peak of the roof on a 3-story building if we did, traditional peaked roof versus if we did a mansard, it was actually the same height. The top line was actually the same height.
Yeah, but aesthetically, that's a pretty
It's
ugly
different. It's different. So I think there's, I don't want to go further than, we got what we were hoping to hear tonight, and we're more than willing to quit while we're ahead and call it an evening and recognize we have hard work ahead of us on those issues, but we just want to, like as Pat pointed out, the use is the first question. And so now we have input on that, and now we can, go back to, and rethink all the other issues and how they would work and what variances those would need, and start having conversations about those issues and work through technical issues like the access is something we have to figure out, and how that all works with the inverts to connect back to the sewer too, especially for changing grading is a definite distinct issue on a small site that we have to make sure works.
And will that be used as a cut-through from 6 to 6N when traffic is, and that'd be more of a concern for people that live there? So
Yeah.
once they know it's there, that's,
And I think that road is changing its traffic direction as part of, at least there was a discussion about it, making it a one-way.
Okay.
The presentation right now is just for discussion to get the feeling of the board. We have the feeling of the board. everything is changeable, nothing is cast in stone here. We still have our work cut out for us, but right now we have like, kind of say like, go ahead and proceed and let's resolve the issues, all these points that come from, because we understand we can't go to the zoning board until we address and satisfy the board. We will work on that, but with the looks of the building, with everything else, still, nothing is final on it. We still have room to do some changes and work with what we have to work with.
Just, Willie, you're gonna have to resubmit your whole short form, because it has, if you're gonna get rid of the commercial, it identifies commercial, so just be aware of those documents too that have to just kind of be resubmitted as part of the whole package.
Okay. No problem.
Because, the other agencies will be looking at it, so you'll be giving it to the DEP, they're gonna look at that, and they're gonna go, wait a minute, why does this say, so it's just more for that type of clarity for them, so.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I just add, Neil asked for designating lead agency. Typically, you want to have the project fixed a little more
Yeah.
before you circulate that, so I think we're a step away from doing
That's why I
that.
didn't comment on that, we're not ready for that, I agree, and,
Okay.
let's see where this goes, no promises, we'll see.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, have a nice evening.
Good evening. Thank you.
Actually, one silly question. I actually didn't get those memos, so I guess, Rich, I'll shoot you an email tomorrow. And we don't give them to you.
No, we don't give them out. You have to, you didn't write everything down?
Say again?
You didn't write it all down? Rose will get them to you tomorrow.
Call Rose tomorrow, she can
Yeah, Rose, I make a note, Rose sends all the comments out, so yours is the only set of memos.
Add me to the distribution list, please. Thank you.
Okay. Last on the agenda tonight is Yankee Development, extension of preliminary subdivision approval. No one here is representing?
So our policy has been, this is a request for an extension. That's typically advocated by the applicant. This isn't an automatic thing, so.
I think we hold it over, they're not here.
I assume the request was timely made?
It was, so they can roll over as long as the request was made timely, we can put them on the next agenda. And we'll have Rose contact them and inform them that they must be here.
Yeah? Sounds reasonable. I think we hold them over. I don't think there were any minutes distributed.
No.
So then, we would need a motion to adjourn if anyone wants to make such.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I thought Mark was going to second.
Please,